Let's go ahead and get this show on the road. Thank you, everyone, for joining this Liberty Ventures webinar. For anyone who's joining us for the first time, with Liberty Ventures, we're building the network of business leaders who are committed to the principles of capitalism, being both the best representatives of and advocates for capitalism, bringing together investors, executives, and entrepreneurs to facilitate collaboration and working together and building positively impactful businesses in the world. And today, I am just absolutely thrilled to have an old friend and member of the network now, Edson Agati, the founder of the Hayek Global College down in Brazil, to talk about innovative based models in education and exploring ways that business is able to revolutionize education in the world today because it's desperately needed right now. And I can say from having visited the campus personally a year ago, it really is an exciting project that Edson's been taking on and what the Hayek Global College is doing. So Edson, really, thank you for everything that you're leading in the education space. Thanks for being a part of the network, and thanks for taking the time to share your insights and ideas with the rest of the network today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. And it's an honor to be here in this webinar. And as you said, we go way back from Students for Liberty. And I'm very also amazed about the work you're doing at Liberty Ventures. And I'm glad that you're building this network that you're building. Just so I can understand, are people able to interact with me if they talk in the chat?
Yes. Great question. So the chat is open for everyone to provide feedback, ask questions. All you have to do is type it into the chat box, everyone.
Okay. So I just asked the chat if is anyone seeing there. If you want to just chat and ask anything while I'm talking, please feel free to ask. I guess I gotta send to everyone, or oh no, I guess it's people might be seeing. Okay.
It does need to go to everyone, but I'm messaging in the chat so that everyone's able to join there.
Okay, sounds good. So I'm gonna share screen. All right, can you see my screen? Do you see a slide on my screen?
We see the whole presentation.
Okay. All right, perfect. So is it presentation mode now?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to talk about today we're going to have a discussion about what does the future of global education look like, right? And I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what we think global education should look like and what Hayek Global College is doing today to innovate in higher education. So you probably, if you've been in the education realm and seen lectures of education, you've probably seen something like this before, right? If we see innovation that has happened in other industries, such as in music, we had drastic changes from the beginning of the century, from a century ago to today, right? We went to a time when we had if we wanted to listen to music, we had to listen to someone playing an instrument and singing the music to us from live music, to later record players, and then the iPod came on, and now we don't even have iPods anymore, right? Everything is in the cell phone, everything's on Spotify. So there's been drastic change on how we listen to music and how the music industry has changed throughout the years. And we could do the same with pretty much every industry that we can think about, except for education. When we see what has happened through the innovation in education, especially in the high quality schools and universities, and this I'm talking in general, right? There are of course some people doing things different, some colleges and schools doing different things, but for the most part, we still have a lecturer in front of the class, talking about a subject, and students just absorbing that content and doing an exam afterwards and regurgitating what has happened in that realm, right? So there's very little innovation in education. And this is not just Brazil, this is not just United States, this is everywhere in the world. And I wanted to just have you guys do a thought process. And you can write this in the chat if you're there. If if you had a magic wand and were able to rethink higher education from scratch, what would the ideal college look like for you? I'll let you just have a moment to think about that and write it in the chat if you're there. So I see Alex is saying here, Aristotle's Academy. That's something of the philosophy, Rob. What does that mean, Alex? It's probably a Socratic seminar of some sort, where people debate and have open ideas about let me see, opportunity to have deep conversations with brilliant minds, both professors and students. Awesome. So it's a conversation, right? It's not a one-way talk from a professor to a student where the professor gives all the knowledge and all the information. It's a conversation between brilliant minds, where everybody talks. So definitely if we start thinking about this, many people have different ideas, but most will say, okay, it has to be, more conversationalist, have to be more practical. We have to have more student involvement in their learning process. We have to have more connections with the job markets. All these types of things are going to start to show up. And there's a lot of people talking about this. And one of the books that was pretty famous talking about innovation in university and going throughout the history, Clayton Christensen, he wrote a book with Henry Eyring called The Innovative University. And he makes the claim in the book where the most innovative university, one of the most innovative universities in history was Harvard University, right? Harvard University, if we go back to the early century, they innovated in a way that they created electives in the courses. They were able to incentivize research in a way other universities weren't able to incentivize, and they were able to attract brilliant minds from all over the world to study at Harvard. And as this model went by, they also were able to attract a lot of donors. And the United States has a very unique model on how the tax incentive is structured for donations, and also the culture of giving in the United States is very strong for institutions. So Harvard was able to create a lot of a big fund for funding higher education, and became a very costly model to do. And what happened there is that, and this is all according to the book, right? After Harvard led this innovation, other universities in the United States, and we could probably see it more apparent in the Ivy Leagues, and then others such as Stanford, etc. They started copying the same model, and most universities in the world were looking at this model as that is the model to be followed. And most of higher education throughout the years has functioned more through imitation rather than innovation. So most universities across the globe started replicating what the Harvard model looks like. And that's a very heavy research-intensive model that relies on researcher professors, and in the end of the day, it's very costly and is more professor-centered than student-centered. And in the book, he mentions the case of BYU Idaho, who has changed this approach to education, bringing a more practical education with the online methods. And BYU Idaho does a lot of asynchronous online education. And what I'm going to show you today is an alternative model to that, which Hayek is bringing. So now enter the Hayek model, right? We have the Harvard model, the BYU Idaho model, and now we have Hayek Global College and what the project that we're doing. And this is what I believe is a good alternative model for what we can call the current or future model of higher education. And what are we doing that is different? First, our method is global exchange based. It's something you probably haven't heard about before because it's a term we came up with. It's a term we came up with for our methodology because we had to describe in a unique way what we were doing, which is, I'm going to go show into more details afterwards, but it's basically connecting people from different countries as part of the methodology and as part of the differential of what you're doing. So we believe that connecting people internationally, it does for a very good quality education. Second, we have the decentralization of faculty and students. So we don't need necessarily students in the same physical place or even in the same country or faculty. We can get best faculty in the world from many different places. We believe in synchronous education. So there's a lot of merits on asynchronous education, but at a certain point, you're going to need a lot of discipline from the students when compared to the synchronous education. And also synchronous makes for much better networking and human connections as well. And synchronous for online for graduate courses, and also we do on-site remote for undergrad. And I will explain a little more what on-site remote mean when we get to the first slides. Just to go back on where we started. So we started in January 2020. Our initial idea was to create an American college in Brazil, which is international, practical, and exposed to the liberty virtues, right? And we're very much benchmarked on UFM Guatemala and how we do the liberty values, in which we have at least one course, one discipline in every single program, which brings students to think about liberty, right? Either in a philosophy class or economics class. And we also want to be very international and practical. And in 2020, we had purchased a real estate to start a regular college, right? And the norms of how traditional colleges are done without thinking much about the future of higher education. And then our plans quickly changed in 2020. Everybody remembers what happened in 2020. Pandemics came and everybody had to go online. So what we did is, okay, let's change our plans to start an online MBA. And thus we started the online MBA. And I have a quick video here to show. I don't know if the sound's coming through, but I'm just going to press play here so you can have an idea of what we were doing in the program. So the students are passing laptops around, and we go on several different countries in the world. So we start in Guatemala, Paris, etc. And this is just to show how we were able to get so many different students from so many different countries in a single cohort of 12 students, which is what we had in the original Global MBA in 2021. And it just happened that we started to get interest from students across the world, and we thought how interesting it was for us to connect so several students. There was no sound. Okay, I see Alex did your comments, but it's just to give you an idea. And okay, thank you. So this is just another screenshot. There's people from all the way from China to Cameroon, Ghana, Brazil, Ukraine, etc. For example, people in Ukraine were in the middle of the war. They were going through the MBA, connecting with several people from other countries, and a professor from the United States. In the undergraduate program, what we are doing is different, and in the sense that we don't want the students studying online by themselves at home, right? Students at the undergraduate degree are in a different life stage and a different age. So we much rather have the students studying in a class, getting the full campus experience, but not necessarily the professor needs to be in person, right? The professor can come from anywhere in the world. And the beauty of this is that we can get the best talents in the world to teach our students. And I'm again going to show, I know the sound's not coming through, but I'm just going to show the quick video of an example of the remote on-site class that we have and what we mean by that, right? So that's just a quick video to show how the class was set up. We have a couple of students in a physical classroom all interacting with each other and interacting with a professor who's coming on a screen, and the screen can move anywhere in the class. So it's as if the professor is a robot in the class. The professor, by the way, in this case, was all the way in South Africa. This was an English class with a professor who was a native English speaker from South Africa teaching our students in Brazil, with a time zone difference of about 7 hours. So this is the power of what we're doing, right? And we have another professor who's coming all the way from Australia, another from Latvia, from Germany, and several other countries who are joining in to connect and teach our students here in Brazil. And so we showed how we're doing in the undergraduate program by bringing the best talents to teach our students. But what about the students, right? We also want to connect with international students in addition to the professor. And how can we do that if the students are all in a single physical space? How can we connect with different students from different countries, just like we were doing on the MBA program? So here I have another video to show what we're doing in that space as well. So as you saw in the video, those students in the class were doing a project with other students from another institution in Bangladesh. So this experience is happening in each one of the courses in our program. For every single course in our program, we have a project with an institution from a different country. And this type of method is called COIL, short for Collaborative Online International Learning. This is something that colleges have typically done in the past years, and it got much more popular in the pandemics with this type of digital exchange. But usually, a university does this for once in an entire program. So if, let's say, a university, the United States are doing this, and usually the SUNY colleges are good in doing this, and they think it's a great if they do it once for every program they have. We're doing one in each of the courses. And in the first semester, students have done 6 of these, one with Ukraine, another with Bangladesh, India, Philippines, South Africa, Mexico, United States, and all within the curriculum. So these COIL projects are in our syllabus. And we were able to plan this just because we're starting from scratch, right? It was already the deal with our professors that they had to include a COIL project within their syllabus. And that's the advantage of being able to start from scratch. And this is an example of a COIL project we did with India, where I was the professor. And we can see that half of the class is from India, half of the class is from Brazil. There are 2 professors there, one me and another from India. And we conducted the class, which was an industry analysis between both countries. How does the labor legislation look like? What is the interest rates? And all these unique information that we can only get by interacting with people from different countries, right? From actually the countries that on the other side. It's the type of thing that you don't get from a textbook. And just to finish off, if we stop to think about the current model of the Harvard style of higher education, which is what most universities in the world are replicating as the high quality education. We have a centralized model in which professors are all in one single place, and students are also in one single place. Let's say Boston, so Harvard, all the Harvard professors are in Boston, and let's say Stanford professors have to be in California to teach the students, and the students have to be there. You have a very costly type of system, and you have to have all your talents and all the students in a single place. Rather, if you have Hayek, the Hayek model, it's a decentralized model, right? The professor can come from anywhere in the world. So not necessarily the best professor in the world is in Boston. Why can't we get a professor who's in Australia or in South Africa or in a small town in Brazil? For example, we found a great mathematics professor who has a very good English in a small town in Paraná, here in Brazil. It's called Vitória da Conquista. And this is only possible in a decentralized model, going all the way from Sydney, Australia to Vitória da Conquista in Paraná. And we can compare that to the model of Encyclopedia Britannica versus Wikipedia. I believe in the long term, the decentralized model is much more efficient to bring you high quality education, especially if we're thinking about sustainable type of financial model for higher education, in which is thousands of times cheaper than what the Harvard model is for universities across the world. And that's my presentation. This is my contact information if you want to get in touch with me. I can also leave this in the chat for you. So I'm writing my contact information there with my email. And I'm open to any questions you guys might have.
Edson, you know that I love the work that you're doing with the Hayek Global College and this innovative approach to education. For anyone who's listening who's in the education space as well, maybe they're at an established university in the US, or maybe they have their own company that works with academic institutions. What are the ways that others can either learn from what you're doing at HGC or collaborate with you on those?
Awesome. I like to have the mindset that we have a lot more to learn with others than with ourselves, and it's always, if you're in education, you have always to be willing to learn, right? But things that we're doing differently is because we're small, we're able to not deal with the bureaucracy of established institutions. And because of that, we're able to innovate in ways that professors and others always wish they could innovate in certain ways. So it's not that we have a different idea, it's just that we are able to move fast in ideas that are already what people want to do in the first place. So the idea of having a professor on the screen conducting the class is something that we came up with to have a different the professor coming from a different country, right, to teach our students. It was a way to solve our problem. But when we talk about that, some professors are like, oh, I always wanted to do that. This is amazing. So, I mean, we were able to just operationalize the ideas of other colleges. And we've proven that it's able to be done in a cost-effective way. So you don't need to have much cost to innovate in higher education, as some people think you might have to, right? So I think that's the biggest takeaway that we can give. And also within the methods of teaching and international and the methods of reaching out to people, and it's just a matter of building network. The same way that Liberty Ventures has created an international network, we're creating an international network of higher education institutions. And we're always open to collaboration. So if anyone in the higher education space, either in a college or even in high schools, if you want to collaborate with us, we're always looking for new COIL partners. We have a goal of having one single COIL partner for every single course that we have. So there's definitely going to be a space for collaboration if anyone wants to collaborate with us.
Fantastic. And Edson's email is shared in the chat for everyone here, and we're going to send that out alongside this video to those who weren't able to join us live. But let me ask this, Edson. What's your greatest vision for where you want to take the Hayek Global College over the next 10 years?
Awesome. So my greatest vision is that we can have different campuses spread around the globe, where we can recruit students locally and have professors spread around the world sitting in their homes digitally from anywhere, right? And this gives us a great power for both student mobility and of bringing the best content that we can possibly give to any given location at a cost-effective way. So even if we're in the United States, for example, we could have a campus in the United States while bringing talent from all over the world, which would be much cheaper than the salary that is paid for professors in the United States. Nothing guarantees that a professor being paid a higher salary in the United States is better than a professor who is in Mexico or in Bangladesh, who can be even at a high level in his company, which has a lot of experience, could be teaching the students at a much lower salary. And also, if you think about that, why can't we bring the highest quality of education to remote places where education is not practiced today? For example, we have an alumni who is in South Sudan today, and is a country with very poor infrastructure compared to Brazil or United States. And he has a fraction of the research that we would have in Brazil. And if we have just the right infrastructure to put there, which is very light infrastructure with the internet and TV, which he already has, we can bring the best talents in the world to teach people even in places like South Sudan. So it's a model where we can bring the highest quality of education to people really anywhere in the world.
I love it, Edson. I'm excited for us to help you bring that to life. I want to see that come about, and hopefully for others who are listening to be a part of that. So for anyone who's listening either live right now or in the recording, if you want to help Edson bring this vision of campuses around the world with a new model of education, a more innovative model to life, please reach out with the email provided here. And Edson, we're coming up at the end here. Is there anything else that you want to share before we wrap this webinar up?
I just wanted to thank everyone listening to us, and thank you, Alex, for bringing the space. We're at Hayek. We're very open to any new connections, whoever that might be. So please feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to talk to you.
Fantastic. Edson, keep up the great work. Same with everyone else who's listening. Let's go and continue to leverage capitalism to advance prosperity and freedom around the world.
Thank you,
And with
Alex.
that,
Likewise.
we'll talk soon. Thanks,
See you.
everyone. Have a great day.